The order goes out for a flanking attack, and it's carried out without urgency. Scouts report an enemy force approaching. The report stalls in debate. Commands are issued, delayed, revised. The system still functions, but it no longer obeys instinctively. History will now demand proof instead of faith. The system is command authority, the invisible contract between a leader and the men who execute without hesitation. Napoleon controls it, but only on paper. The pressure is not enemy numbers or terrain, it's memory. A past campaign that broke the spell of inevitability. Every order now forces a decision below him. Follow instantly, or pause and verify. That hesitation is new, and it compounds. Doubt replaces reflex. Execution slows. Risk is avoided. This battle will not be decided by tactics alone, but by whether authority still carries weight. This is the moment when legitimacy begins to slip. If this is the kind of history you want more of, you can subscribe, like this video, and let's continue. Napoleon issues orders from headquarters, expecting immediate movement across the line. The system being tested is command obedience, the reflex that once turned intent into motion. The orders are clear. Advance hard on the left. Press before the enemy fully settles. On paper, nothing has changed. Messengers move across wet ground, boots heavy with mud, papers sealed and resealed. Staff officers read the instructions carefully. Too carefully. There is no refusal. There is something worse, interpretation. Marshal Ney receives the directive and delays execution. He confirms formations. He waits for alignment. He advances, but not with force. The maneuver exists, but stripped of conviction. This is not caution born of terrain. It is caution born of memory. In earlier campaigns, Napoleon's intent was assumed to be correct even before results proved it. Now, each instruction is weighed against past failure. Russia lingers in the mind. The retreat, the collapse, the cost. The system absorbs this hesitation unevenly. Regiments move at different speeds. Supporting units lag. What should strike as one arrives in fragments. Metal shifts. Cannon are repositioned twice. Officers consult one another instead of acting. Each pause seems small. Together, they stretch time. Napoleon notices the delay. He sends clarification instead of correction. That choice matters. By reinforcing the order rather than enforcing it, authority softens. The chain still exists, but it no longer tightens automatically. Execution now depends on agreement. The attack finally goes forward. Late, cautious, incomplete. The enemy holds, not because they overpower, but because pressure never peaks. The system has not failed, but it has changed. For the first time, Napoleon's army treats his orders as proposals, and legitimacy, once questioned, does not recover momentum. Scouts report movement on the right, and the message pauses at headquarters. The system under strain is intelligence validation, the pathway from observation to action. Cavalry patrols return with consistent reports, columns approaching from the east. Dust, ordered movement, not skirmishes. The information reaches staff officers first. They compare accounts. They measure distance. They hesitate, not over accuracy, but over reception. Napoleon is informed. He dismisses the report. Not loudly, not angrily, briefly. He assumes exaggeration. He assumes delay. He assumes the enemy cannot arrive in strength yet. This assumption once functioned as command clarity. Now it functions as a filter. Staff officers exchange looks. No one challenges the dismissal directly. No one presses the point either. The intelligence system fractures quietly here. Reports are not suppressed, but they are softened. Certainty is replaced with caution in wording. Follow-up messages lose urgency. Timestamps stretch. Reconnaissance is not reinforced. Wood tables bear the weight of unfolded maps. Fingers trace routes without commitment. Footsteps move in circles. This is not insubordination. It is adaptation. Officers have learned that confidence can be costly. They have learned that insisting carries risk without guarantee. So they wait for confirmation that will arrive too late. Napoleon proceeds as if the threat is distant. He allocates forces forward, not outward. He protects momentum, not perimeter. By the time additional reports arrive, the language has changed. Possibility, unclear strength, likely diversion. The system still gathers information, but it no longer insists on belief. A chance narrows here, not because intelligence is wrong, but because authority no longer compels action. The army advances blind on one flank, not from ignorance, but from disbelief allowed to settle. Napoleon delays the opening bombardment, waiting for the ground to firm. The system under pressure is operational timing, the coordination between environment, artillery, and command confidence. Rain has softened the field. Guns will sink. Infantry will slow. The delay is practical. It is also revealing. In earlier campaigns, timing bent around Napoleon's judgment. If he waited, the army waited with him, confident the moment would justify itself. Now, the pause invites calculation. Artillery officers inspect ground repeatedly. They argue over placement. They request adjustments. Wooden wheels are shifted, then shifted again. Crews stand idle beside iron barrels cooling in the air. Every minute invites another opinion. Napoleon approves the delay, then shortens it. He revises without explanation. That revision matters. It signals uncertainty downward. If the commander recalculates, subordinates feel permitted to do the same. The chain absorbs doubt like slack. When the guns finally open fire, coordination falters. Some batteries fire late. Others conserve ammunition, waiting for clearer targets. The opening that should stun instead announces presence. Noise without shock. Fire without momentum. Infantry commanders hesitate to advance under incomplete cover. They ask whether this is the main effort or preliminary push. No answer arrives in time. Metal groans as carriages are forced forward anyway. Mud grips wheels. Crews strain and stop. This delay costs more than minutes. It costs synchronization. The enemy absorbs the fire and adjusts. Defensive lines settle instead of breaking. What should disrupt instead confirms resolve. The system has narrowed again. Timing now depends on consensus, not command. Napoleon still controls the clock, but the army no longer believes he controls the outcome tied to it. From this point forward, every pause compounds, and recovery demands a unity that is already thinning. Napoleon orders a renewed push on the center, expecting decisive pressure. The system now exposed is tactical execution, the conversion of intent into force at scale. The command is simple: advance, commit reserves, break the line. It arrives without ambiguity. Marshal Ney moves the units forward. Formations align. Drums signal advance. But the movement lacks finality. Infantry advances in measured steps. Officers preserve spacing. Momentum is managed, not unleashed. This is professional soldiering stripped of excess risk. No one charges beyond instruction. No one exploits gaps without confirmation. Cannon fire supports the advance unevenly. Some batteries press close. Others hold position, waiting for clearer advantage. Metal strikes earth. Smoke drifts low. Visibility narrows. In earlier wars, initiative filled these moments. Captains acted. Colonels adjusted. Now, they wait. They have learned what happens when confidence outruns support. They have seen brilliance fail without margin. They will not repeat it alone. Napoleon watches the movement stall. He sends aides forward, not with new orders, but encouragement. The difference is felt. Encouragement asks. Orders compel. The advance slows as resistance stiffens. Units halt to rue line instead of pressing through. What should collapse holds? This is the moment execution becomes conditional. Each action waits on validation from above or beside. Force is applied carefully, not decisively. The system still functions, but it no longer amplifies intent. When the push fails to break through, no one is surprised. The army adjusts posture instead of escalating. A critical threshold passes here. Victory now requires belief in excess, and that resource is no longer available. Napoleon waits to commit the guard, holding them back from the line. The system narrowing now is reserve commitment, the final mechanism that converts pressure into collapse. The guard exists to decide battles. Its presence alone once altered enemy behavior. Staff officers watch the center strain. They do not ask for the guard. They wait to be told. This silence is new. In earlier campaigns, the moment to commit was sensed collectively. Now, no one claims certainty. No one wants responsibility for misjudgment. Napoleon studies the field. He measures resistance. He calculates cost. The delay is intentional, but it echoes differently now. Officers read restraint as doubt. Units at the front feel absence instead of support. Momentum drains without replacement. Footsteps thicken behind the line as wounded move rearward. Orders overlap and cancel. Time compresses. Napoleon still believes commitment will matter, but belief alone no longer transmits downward. The guard remains motionless. This immobility does not preserve strength. It broadcasts hesitation. Enemy lines stabilize. Counterpressure builds elsewhere. Opportunity narrows without announcement. When aides finally suggest commitment, the moment has shifted. The guard would now enter containment, not rupture. Its symbolic power would be spent without decision. Napoleon declines. That choice seals a structural change. Reserves are no longer automatic answers. They become calculated risks, too costly to wager. The army absorbs the signal immediately. If the guard waits, everyone waits. If the guard hesitates, legitimacy thins. This is not the loss of a unit. It is the loss of inevitability. From here on, every option carries equal doubt, and delay becomes the default language of command. Napoleon orders a renewed alignment across the line, expecting synchronized pressure. The system fracturing now is inter-unit coordination, the trust that parallel actions will arrive together. Signals are sent. Timetables are set. On paper, the line advances as one. In practice, each formation checks the others first. Units on the left slow to confirm support. Center elements hold until flanks are visible. Artillery waits for infantry to clear. Infantry waits for artillery to commit. Silence stretches between commands. Boots stop, then start. Intervals widen. This is not confusion. It is conditional obedience. Officers have learned that unsupported initiative carries personal cost. They protect their men by protecting themselves. Coordination becomes negotiation. Napoleon rides forward to compress the gap. He reiterates alignment. He insists on timing. His presence once resolved friction instantly. Now, it triggers recalculation. Subordinates listen, then look sideways. They measure risk against proximity. They act, but only within narrow bounds. Metal clinks as lines dress repeatedly. Dust hangs without advance. The moment drains. The enemy adjusts calmly. Defensive fire is staggered, then tightened. Resistance grows denser, not thinner. This is where the system loses elasticity. Coordination no longer accelerates action. It slows it. Every link waits for proof before pulling. Napoleon still commands the structure, but the structure no longer multiplies his intent. It absorbs it. A chance closes here, not loudly, not visibly, but through synchronization deferred past usefulness. From this point, unity requires belief, and belief is no longer assumed. Napoleon expects subordinate commanders to exploit openings without waiting. The system breaking here is delegated initiative, the capacity for local decision to extend central intent. Small gaps appear along the enemy line. They are visible. They are temporary. Junior officers notice them. They mark positions. They do not advance. Past experience governs restraint. Unapproved aggression once led to isolation. Support did not always arrive, so initiative pauses. Captains send queries upward. Majors wait for confirmation. Minutes pass unclaimed. Footsteps gather behind shallow cover. Weapons are held ready but unmoving. Opportunity breathes, then closes. Napoleon dispatches aides again, not to give new orders, but to urge decisiveness. The distinction matters. Decisiveness cannot be ordered indirectly. It must be trusted. Subordinates hear urgency without authorization. They move, but narrowly. They test rather than commit. Enemy units shift to seal gaps. Defensive fire intensifies. The window collapses. This is the irreversible loss of initiative. Action now requires permission at every level. Speed drains upward into approval. The army still advances, but it advances reactively, always one step behind conditions. Napoleon's system once thrived on distributed confidence. That confidence is gone. What remains is compliance. Compliance cannot outpace adaptation. It cannot exploit surprise. It cannot finish. From this moment on, the army fights correctly, and that correctness ensures nothing decisive happens. Napoleon shifts forces to stabilize the right, responding to mounting reports. The system now collapsing is adaptive response, the ability to reallocate pressure before imbalance becomes failure. Information finally converges. Movement is confirmed. The threat is real. Orders are issued quickly this time. Units are redirected. Lines bend, but the reaction arrives without confidence. Officers comply, yet treat the adjustment as containment, not opportunity. They move to hold, not to strike. The aim narrows from decision to survival. Marching slows under recalculation. Routes are debated mid-movement. Spacing widens to avoid exposure. Iron scrapes as artillery is turned reluctantly. Crews reposition with caution. No one advances beyond instruction. This is where belief would once have accelerated response. Instead, doubt governs scale. Napoleon presses urgency. He emphasizes necessity. He does not promise outcome. That absence is felt. The enemy advances into the gap methodically. Pressure builds without resistance in depth. Containment becomes compression. Local commanders request clarification. They want assurance before committing fully. Assurance does not arrive. Each adjustment now costs more than it saves. Units arrive late, tired, and partial. The line holds, but only just. This is the transformation of pressure into burden. The system no longer redistributes stress efficiently. It absorbs it unevenly. Napoleon still adapts faster than his opponents. But adaptation without belief lacks force. It stabilizes instead of deciding. A final narrowing occurs here. From this point, the army can respond, but it cannot regain initiative lost to hesitation. The system survives structurally. What it has lost is conviction, and conviction, once gone, cannot be redeployed. Napoleon orders a final concentration of force, attempting to reclaim decision. The system now under extraction is command legitimacy, the belief that one voice can still bind the whole. Orders tighten, instructions narrow, flexibility disappears. There is no room left for interpretation. Units are told where to stand, not what to achieve. Authority compresses instead of expanding. Officers comply immediately, not eagerly, correctly. Lines reform under pressure. Movements are precise. Risk is minimized. This obedience is different from earlier loyalty. It is procedural, not instinctive. It preserves structure, not outcome. Napoleon's presence moves along the line. He corrects spacing. He reinforces alignment. The army responds, but without escalation. No one exceeds instruction. No one gambles on belief. Smoke thickens as fire continues. The sound is constant but flat. No surge follows. Enemy pressure increases elsewhere. The system absorbs it instead of countering. Holding replaces forcing. This is legitimacy reduced to form. Orders still travel. They no longer generate momentum. Napoleon recognizes the constraint. He stops issuing broad intent. He issues containment. That shift marks the extraction. Command authority once created options. Now it manages loss. The system still answers him, but only within shrinking margins. A decisive outcome would require subordinates to act beyond certainty. That no longer happens. What remains is an army that functions cleanly under stress and cannot escape it. The consequence is no longer in question. Legitimacy has narrowed to maintenance. History does not require collapse yet, only confirmation, and that confirmation is already underway. Napoleon issues no further attacks and orders the line to hold. The system reaches its limit here. Command legitimacy, the capacity to convert authority into decisive action. There is no confusion left. There is no disagreement. There is also no belief left to spend. Orders are obeyed precisely. Positions are maintained. Losses are managed. This is control without momentum. Officers stop asking what comes next. They focus on preservation. They execute instructions as boundaries, not objectives. The army still recognizes Napoleon Bonaparte as commander. They do not recognize inevitability anymore. That distinction is final. Metal rests where it last moved. Footsteps slow to reinforcement paths. The sound of action levels into endurance. The enemy advances with confidence that meets no counterweight. Pressure accumulates without rupture. The line bends and stays bent. Napoleon understands what remains. He does not attempt restoration. He does not gamble on belief that will not return. The system is now conserving itself, not winning. Legitimacy has narrowed to procedure. Authority functions, but it cannot compel risk. This is the extraction history demands. Not the failure of strategy, not the collapse of morale, but the confirmation that genius, once doubted, cannot command excess. The army withdraws in order. The structure survives. The spell does not. What is lost here is not a battle. It is the mechanism that once made battles inevitable. From this moment forward, Napoleon's authority exists only where certainty already lives. And history moves on, no longer waiting for him to decide. And there you have it. History is full of these incredible moments, and we're just getting started. If you want to experience more epic journeys through time, subscribe to Dramatic History Journeys and hit that like button. See you in the comment section.